The movie starts in a grimy tattoo shop, where Yakuza leader grunts in agony as he sits for his back to be tattooed by a master tattoo artist. Growling with annoyance, he swears and complains about the pain. The tattoo master remains quiet, his hands rock steady as he etches the intricate design. Just then, a subordinate appears, bowing respectfully before handing the leader an envelope. The Yakuza leader rips it open, and forth flows fine black sand. The room is silent. The tattoo master is frozen, his eyes staring wide in horror. He takes a shuddering breath and says softly, "History is going to repeat itself." Bewildered, the Yakuza men regard one another. The artist goes on in a low, panting tone. Anybody who receives an envelope of black sand is dead. It's a sign of a family of deadly ninja assassins. The men laugh away the threat of the old man. The tattoo master just shakes his head. He knows this. He tells them how long ago men who ridiculed this warning perished in gruesome ways. He himself would have been one of them, but through some whim of fate, a birth defect, his heart was on the right side of his chest, and the ninja's blade missed. But then, abruptly, the laughter ceases. A sickening slash. Blood spurts onto the walls as his lifeless body falls to the ground. The other men turn around, drawing out their weapons, but there is nothing to kill. The room suddenly goes dark. Panic erupts. The shadows move. Silently creeping figures strike with cold calculation. One by one, the Yakuza fall, their screams silenced by bubbling blood. The tattoo master shrieks a warning again, but in vain. The ninjas have no mercy. The Yakuza leader struggles wildly, but his sword bites nothing but thin air. In seconds, he too drops. The tattoo artist hardly has time to draw breath before a knife catches up with him too. Meanwhile, in a Europol headquarters, Agent Mika stands before her boss, Maslow. She is talking with a sense of urgency, presenting her conclusions. She has found a link that ties the assassinations of influential political figures to a secret group known as the Ozinu clan. She pleads with him that this ninja clan does exist. They've been doing their dirty work for centuries quietly, eliminating targets with lethal precision. She pleads for 1 hour of evidence of their existence. Maslow, skeptical but intrigued, takes his time. And then Mika demonstrates the unsettling detail. The Ozinu clan always charges the same fee for a job, 100 pounds of gold per life. No negotiating, no variation. He listens to Mika enthusiastically describe her research, but is not persuaded. While the city sleeps under the cover of the darkness of the night, at the quiet Berlin laundry facility, the young man Rezo waits at the side of the washing machine. A young woman approaches him at that particular point with a piece of cloth in her hand. She warmly smiles at him and respectfully asks him to help. Rezo does not blink. He does not smile. His eyes contract instead as he looks at her. "Which clan you belong to?" His tone is rough and suspicious. She strikes in the blink of an eye. Pandemonium erupts in the laundromat as they battle, blades clashing, bodies moving with superhuman speed. Rezo parries her attack with precision effortless to his defense, riposting with deadly precision. It's over in seconds. The owner of the laundry shop is awakened from his slumber in the rear room by the uproar. He rushes out with his heart racing. Then he sees it. Blood, black and thick, oozing from the washing machine. The following day, Maslow sits across from Mika at a quaint cafe, mechanically chewing on his meal. He raises his eyes, making sure no one is within earshot. Leaning forward slightly, then breaking his silence at last. He tells her that he took her theory seriously to the point of investigating on his own. And what I've learned is disturbing. Maslow reveals that the former KGB agent Alexei Sabaton had spent years trying to uncover the existence of the mysterious group of 9 people known as the 9 Clans, a group of conspirators who had committed murders going back centuries over the course of decades. Some of the most powerful people in the world had been among their victims. But Sabaton's accusations were discredited. No one took him seriously. Meanwhile, Rezo returns to his black apartment. He walks carefully, his senses constantly on alert. His home is not a simple dwelling. Taking a deep breath, his eyes far away. His thoughts wander back to the past. A stern master towers over the children. His deep, gravitas-filled voice is that of one who is used to commanding respect when discussing honor, duty. He informs them that now that they belong to the clan of the Ozenu, be now brethren, be to each other as family. Standing among the children is young Rezo, expressionless face, flexed muscles. He is new to the world, but not to decisions. Their training is merciless. Each day is ordeal of stamina, their minds and bodies driven to the point of shattering. Starvation, floggings, breaking, tools of the trade. One night, the sensei delivers a lecture to them about weakness and pain. He instructs them about hunger and thirst. He says that the very blood that runs through their veins is their weakness. And to illustrate the point, he slashes his own flesh, his wounds sealing up nearly at once. Hours later that evening, Reizo moves cautiously on his tired legs, the skin at the soles of his feet bruised and bleeding. His equilibrium is precarious. Pain rages through his body as his master's whip comes down across his thighs. That evening, while his face is on the ground of his bedroom, his wounds throb. His eyes brim with unshed tears. A gentle presence comes then. A girl kneels down beside him. She is called Kiriko, and in this cruel and merciless world, she is the only source of light in Reizo's life. Reizo is old now, but trains relentlessly, his strikes swift and deadly. He trains with multiforms of weapons, katanas, shurikens, kuzurigama, each strike more biting, each motion more deadly than the preceding one. At the same time, Mika visits the residence of Mrs. Sabaton, the widow of deceased KGB agent Alexei Sabaton. The woman greets her guardedly, eyes heavy with fatigue, the tension of loss written on every move. As they sit, Mrs. Sabaton talks about her late husband's paranoia. After his story went public, he was fixated on security. He installed security lights, motion sensors, cameras. He didn't want shadows in the house. He was afraid of them. She is interrupted, her words trembling slightly. My husband is a soldier, a rough guy, not afraid easily. But then, one evening, a man came to see him. They spoke in his bedroom. I don't know what it was that they spoke about, but then he was even more afraid. How did he die? Mrs. Sabaton's eyes darkened. The lights flickered out, and then it arrived. She is silent between him. She seems to shake out of the daze and picks up a pile of dusty files and passes them over to Mika. Mika reads Sabaton's files. Page after page, she uncovers evidence of an ancient ninja clan hidden away over the centuries. Then among the papers, she comes across a cassette. She puts it in the machine. The flickering photographs transform to moving ones. Reizo, he is fighting off a group of ninjas, flitting like a ghost, striking with precision that is deadly. In the interim, Reizo maintains his intense training, his perspiring body training with unbreakable tenacity. His thoughts wander back to the past. A young Reizo appears at the training grounds to fight another ninja Takashi. The two of them engage mercilessly. Takashi is the first to attack, throwing a small flame in the eyes of Reizo and then striking him on the head. Reizo reels but doesn't fall. A loud voice echoes through the courtyard. You believe this is painful? You are mistaken. He is cast back to the darkness, solitude. The following screams resound through the evening. The next morning, a huge door groans open. Reizo is utterly still, his own person lost to deep meditation. Mika is also visited at Europol by Agent Sobransky, whose visit is not social, but is not rushed either. Sobransky is more serious in tone. Maslow is under a tremendous amount of stress. His judgment is not going to be as sharp as it would otherwise. Be careful what you believe. Subsequently, upon meeting with Maslow outside the block of offices, he reveals that Sobransky had also telephoned him, inquiring. They stare at each other in wordless understanding. They are under observation. Mika is the first to understand. Someone does not want us to dig deeper. Maslow somberly nodded. The 9 tribes are connected to 2 of the most powerful people on Earth. We will never be permitted to expose them. The next morning, Reizo navigates the throng of the market with ease, disappearing among the population. Memories flood back to him as he walks. A fleeting look back at the past, the day he received his teen crush. Softly crunching leaves surround the air as Kiriko carefully cuts through ropes that hold down the bonsai tree. Reizo watches, concern dancing behind his youthful eyes. You will come to trouble over that. Kiriko is not deterred and smiles softly. All that is living has heart, even the bonsai. It needs to live free to chart its own destiny. Her words cling to Reizo. At Lord Ozenu's command, an eye patch is put on him to wear for a year. His vision is taken from him, his other senses compelled to make up for it. Every step is difficult at first, every movement unsteady. But slowly, his hearing returns. He begins to catch the whispers of the wind. The next morning, the fields are still except where the ring of steel rings out. Kiriko towers over the vanquished opponent. She is victorious. Lord Ozenu comes forward, his voice without pity. Cut him, but she puts away the sword. I won't. There's the cold bite of metal in the atmosphere. Ozenu strikes her instead. With the cover of darkness, Reizo enters her room. He knelt beside her and handed her the small cup of water. She accepts it, their skin making contact. Why on earth would you do that? Kiriko is silent, and her silence is louder than words. The rain comes down in thick sheets that pound on the rooftops. Kiriko quickly climbed the high walls of the Ozenu's compound. Reizo catches up to her just at the top. Please don't, he pleads. You know what becomes of the ones who try to escape. But Kiriko does not glance back. I'd die before I'd live in a cage. And she vanishes in the storm. The phone rings. Reizo replies. Another person says something in Japanese. They need no explanation. He is already aware of the meaning. Mika, she is the target victim. Maslow, growing more paranoid after learning of Alexei Sabaton's dossiers on the 9 clans, hurries to warn Mika. You don't know the kind of power you are working with, he tells her, pushing the gun for his own hand to hers. Take yourself to safety. Now, Mika grips the weapon firmly while nodding. But when she arrives at her apartment building, there is a creepy stillness. The entire block had lost electricity. Her gut is screaming at her. This is no accident. She cautiously steps up step by step to her apartment. She keeps one on her desk. Black sand is flowing from within. A danger. A warrant of execution. Shadows fall upon her before she can respond. They fly into the night, silent assassins. Ninjas. They strike. She shoots at random, the shots echoing in the dark room. But too fast, too many. At the point of complete hopelessness. They won't stop until you're dead, the voice warns. From the shadows, the figure finally steps into the dim light. Reizo. Mika's eyes widen in shock. She recognizes him at once from the ancient tape. He was the ninja she had been chasing. But instead of killing her, he had saved her. Do you recognize me? Reizo asks, voice even. Before she can answer, the distant sound of footsteps echoes in the building. More assassins are coming. They cannot afford to waste any time. They flee together into the night. A moment burned into his very awareness. A terrified little Kiriko flees through the shadows, her chest laboring, the soles of her feet splashing in puddles of water. She isn't fast enough. Takashi catches her, bound securely to a wooden pole. Kiriko fights as Lord Ozenu approaches. Let this be an example to all. His friend. Takashi glances up at Reizo's eyes. Then, he plunges the blade into Kiriko's heart. A wicked grin twists his lips as he watches Reizo's torment. The wheels of the car scream as Mika races down the streets as fast as she can, speeding to lose the pursuers who are tailing them. Why do you chase your own clan? Mika asks, staring at Reizo. He does not answer at first. Another memory appears. A man lies on the cold ground. Lord Ozenu watches from the shadows. Take the watch, the clan master commands. Reizo does so, twisting the watch off the dead wrist. Later, injured but victorious, Reizo stands atop a roof, clutching the gold watch. Lord Ozenu approaches. A young girl, another would-be flight, is dragged into the courtyard. She resembles Kiriko. Lord Ozenu places a blade in Reizo's hand. Kill her. Prove you are one of us. And in a whirlwind motion, he spins around, knife slicing through Lord Ozenu's chest. The assassins rush. Reizo struggles, but more than one for one. One more blow sends him over the roof edge. The fall never comes. Instead, his body crashes into the surface of a pool. In the present, Mika and Reizo pull into a rural motel. Reizo is quick in the room, grabbing a pack of cigarettes. Take a shower. No soap. Change your clothes, he says to him. Mika hesitates. They could track you by smell, he says. Like wolves. Mika takes out her phone and calls Maslow. Later, Mika and Reizo head to meet Maslow at a secluded location. There is something in the atmosphere that does not sit well. Reizo's muscles lock. He knows it. The shift in the atmosphere. The unseen gaze on them. Why have you done this? He breathes, his voice menacing and low. Reizo doesn't have time to react before a searing pain shoots through his body. Electricity surges, paralyzing him immediately. Reizo remains seated in his cell, immobile, silent, his gaze unreadable. In another area of the complex, Mika explodes into a room where Maslow sits. How could you? She shrieks. Maslow rubs his temple and sighs. I didn't have any say-so, Mika. My bosses said I had to bring him in. Maslow hands her a tiny beacon. Use this when you need my help. Mika swallows hard and accepts it. Later, Mika visits Reizo's cell, slipping him a bottle of water. Maslow is on our side, she whispers. Reizo uncorks the bottle, his face impassive. It's already too late. Mika's stomach twists. The lights flash, then go out. A moment of silence. Then chaos erupts. Shouting. Gunfire. The hiss of metal as blades are drawn. Mika runs out of the room, dashing toward Maslow's office. But by the time she arrives, the horror has already started. Finally, the lock clicks open. Reizo steps out. As Reizo fights off the assassins, the rest of the guards frantically fend off the ninja team in the computer room of the facility. Mika doesn't hesitate, dashing up the stairs. She reaches her car. Out of breath, a ninja emerges, his sword glinting in the dim light. She fires. The bullet breaks his leg. He crashes down. Meanwhile, Reizo fights for his life. Takashi looms above him, the rest of his team behind. Still fighting, little brother? Takashi taunts. Reizo takes advantage and finishes off the fight. Then, gasping, he falls in the passenger seat. Mika doesn't wait. She drives. They exit. Mika finds a small, hidden inn and gets Reizo in. His wounds are bad. Mika watches Reizo close his eyes, gripping the beacon Maslow gave her. Later that night, she looks on from a distance as ninjas appear at their motel room. Then the task force. By the time she reaches the room, Reizo is gone. In the darkness of a moving container, Reizo lies still, his breathing regulated. Slowly, his body heals itself, a technique learned by the clan master himself. The motor stops, the doors open up, and standing before him, in darkness, is Lord Ozenu. You have shamed your clan, Reizo. The nightmare is far from over. The assassins stand in silent ranks, their master watching, waiting. But Reizo is not. He tilts his head back, then spits out a small metallic token. One blink, one message dispatched. The storm bursts out. Europol troops storm the compound, gunfire breaking the stillness. Explosions tear through the darkness as troops flood in, fighting against the lethal killers. She cuts through his bonds. Free, Reizo claims a blade from a fallen soldier, his breathing steady, his concentration complete. The time is here. From the opposite side of the battlefield, Takashi appears. An eternity of the past between them. No speeches. Fighting breaks out. Takashi is merciless, his blows as sharp as the night air. But Reizo waited for this moment, bred for it. With one final, brutal strike, Takashi is defeated. Reizo stands over him. Kiriko is avenged. But the battle is not over. From the flames and smoldering ash, Lord Ozenu rises. He is old, but age has not mellowed him. He is the ghost that has haunted Reizo's existence. Reizo attacks, swift, savage. But Lord Ozenu is faster. He dodges, counterattacks. Each blow Reizo tries is met with a fatal reversal. Pain runs through Reizo's body as he is sent crashing to the ground. Ozenu raises his sword for the death blow. A shot is fired. Ozenu vanishes into the darkness. Mika gasps, eyes wide, as the sword pierces her chest. She collapses. Reizo watches in horror as the final spark of life is snuffed from her eyes. Enraged, Reizo rises. He glides through the darkness, a shadow, a breath, a ghost of death himself. Final slash. Lord Ozenu staggers, the master of shadows defeated. The blaze of the burning fortress bellows up around them. But Reizo hears it. A heartbeat. Mika is alive. Reizo confronts Maslow. She lived, he states. Maslow's face wrinkles. Ow! Reizo looks down at her, a faint smile on his lips. Her heart is on the right side. The battle is won. The fortress smolders in ashes. As the Europol pulls out, Reizo stays behind. He walks through ashes of his past. Then he climbs. Hand over hand, he goes up the ancient wall. The same wall Kiriko climbed. The same wall she used to daydream about escaping across. The wind carries the scent of pine, of earth, of freedom. Reizo breathes it, and for the very first time in his life, he smiles.
And that's a wrap on today's recap. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more epic movie breakdowns. Until next time, stay awesome and keep watching great movies.